Cool. So the topic I'm going to talk to you guys about today is it possible? And specifically looking at how you can use AI ethically in the industry and essentially everything that's wrong with using AI in the industry right now as well. So I have just finished my MA in Film and Television here at the University of Bristol, and my primary research focused on AI, its impact on the industry and its impact on audiences. So I'm going to talk to you about my two research projects I did during my master's. The first being Intelligent Cinematography, a study exploring how audiences are reacting and responding to AI-generated content in comparison to traditionally made film content, which explored how audiences were engaging with AI and how AI has changed the way people interact with all visual media now. And the second being my dissertation, which is AI, auteur theory, and cinema's new avant-garde, a study exploring the ethical implications of using artificial intelligence in the film and television industry, which explored the role of AI in the screen sector. So to support this research, I worked as a research and development assistant at a virtual production studio called Visual Skies to test whether it was possible to use AI ethically. For this, I used a locally run software called Comfy UI to perform 3D model style transfers, to generate missing scan data to benefit 3D and 4D Gaussian splatting processes, and to streamline the studio's approach to previs. And I'll kind of explain all that in just a little bit. Sorry, 1 second. So for my first project, unsurprisingly, there wasn't a lot of research out there that has investigated how AI was affecting audiences. So aside from a study conducted by the BBC that asked its audiences their opinions on the existence of generative AI more generally, there has been no in-depth studies or data collections that analyse the ways people are actively reacting to AI-generated content itself. So, inspired by the debate surrounding Coca-Cola's controversial Christmas ad in 2024, with views expressing how the AI video was soulless and the magic had been lost, I was curious to see if people still shared the same views 4 months later. Sorry, the cursor's gone.
You can just use the arrow key if you want.
I need to slide down for my notes. I need like the little cursor for my notes.
Okay.
Sorry, it's disappeared. I don't know how to use Mac. I think it's on like an automatic timer actually.
Yeah, I'm not sure how you do that.
I've got the notes on my laptop. It's just easier.
The notes.
It's like
Oh, it's A.
Oh. I don't have it on my laptop.
Oh, it's here. That's because it was on the main screen. There you go.
Fantastic.
All right.
Okay.
4 months later.
Okay. So, I wanted to investigate what this so-called human-made magic is for the consumer and to see if such magic is truly lost at the hands of AI. For this study, I curated a screening program that consisted of a variety of different AI and traditionally made content, such as animation, trailers, and music videos, and I collected questionnaire data from my participants. There was 2 versions of the screening. All content was the same, but the order in which the content was labelled was slightly different. However, all content that was labelled truthfully. Despite this, my data revealed a high level of digital distrust and audience skepticism. So in some cases, even though people were sure the content was human-made, they were tentative to strongly agree on the scale to that statement, suggesting their wariness and their fear of being wrong. Within the study, I also recreated a pre-existing film trailer using AI and included this and the original in the screening. During the screening, with the AI trailer being unlabelled, One, one participant claimed they wanted to change their answers after watching the real trailer and therefore realising that the first version they saw was actually AI. Other participants commented that they felt they were being tricked and that it was getting to the point where everything started to look like AI. For me, the main findings from this study highlight that the magic of filmmaking not only lies in how human and emotionally engaging the content is, but it also aligns with transparency and truth. One of the main things I took away from this study is the importance of content labeling and signposting. There is the need to regain audience trust, and the lack of regulation surrounding signposting means the relationship between the industry, their content, and their audiences has been damaged, where even traditionally made content is being questioned. As summed up in a blog by the Cannes Film Festival, technological advances have shaped the contours of filmmaking, transforming not only the way in which films are made, but also how they are perceived and experienced by audiences. And indeed, the introduction of AI has made a significant mark on how any type of visual media is now perceived. My second project was my dissertation that then considered how AI was being used in the industry, and it investigated if it was possible to use AI ethically. So after understanding how audiences were engaging with AI content, my next step was to investigate the source. The key things I covered in my dissertation were authorship, copyright and IP, authenticity and creativity, systematic gender and racial biases in AI outputs, content labeling and digital distrust, and modes of ethical AI training, which was my field research. So to further understand the ethical implications of AI, such as creative authorship, authenticity, and notions of originality, I considered the use of AI through the lens of auteur theory and reanalyzed the theory's original meaning in this new technological context. Additionally, I used my field research to suggest ways it is possible to find what has been described as this crucial balance between automation and human creativity as we face this new avant-garde. So before I go into my industry work, I want to give you a quick overview of the software I use and why it is different to subscription-based platforms like Kling, Midjourney, or Runway. So unlike the other platforms that use external servers and mindlessly generate images and videos using pre-existing works, and this has been described as a big scrape of the internet by the CEO of Midjourney, Comfy UI is an open source, locally run application. In this interface, you build tailored workflows using node-based systems, which gives you control over your work and data at every stage of generation. And when you use the right models, it avoids copyright infringement completely. That's just one like an example workflow of a 3D model style transfer, which is kind of on the next page, but that's like a super extended version that I did. So yeah, one of my first experiments in industry involved using Comfy UI as a VFX tool to perform style transfers in 3D models. The aim was to build time and cost-effective pre-production workflows that could help with decision making and enabling the studio to change the style of their digital assets without having to rescan the asset in different variations. With further development, there is the ability to change this back into 3D and use it in films, TV, and games. This process involves using image or video scan data of an object or an asset and turning it into what's called a Gaussian splat, which is essentially the process of creating a 3D model in real time. So in the interface, you can see where all the camera points are from the video or the pictures. You kind of drop into it and it builds it with these splat points. It's quite cool, actually. You then take this 3D model and turn it into a depth map, which is back into 2D, and it's a grayscale image that shows the spatial information, so represents the distance between the camera and the object. I then built a workflow in Comfy UI using control nets and IP adapter nodes. They just have a specific role in this specific workflow. allowing me to take a style reference image and essentially pasting that onto the depth map. So I wanted to test how this workflow worked on more abstract images. So that's why I use my jewelry stand, and it looks kind of like a sci-fi monster thing. But this process works really well on more concrete and defined objects such as like chairs or pianos or rooms, because the AI can actually conceptualize what the depth map represents. Okay, so I also started to develop a ComfUI workflow that generated the missing image data from photogrammetry scans of people. I was able to generate 23 new images between my start and end frame inputs using an image to video model and extracting each frame. This workflow isn't consistent at the moment and does require upscaling the images for them to be usable. This is quite low quality because I turned it into a GIF, by the way. But the end goal with this workflow is for it to be reliable enough so the studio can reduce the number of cameras in their mobile photogrammetry rig. So that rig currently uses over 120 cameras, but when this is fully developed, the plan is to go down to about 60 cameras and upgrade them all to better quality ones too. This will not only reduce scanning costs, but it will be easier to take on location as there'll be less kit. For now, again, it can be used on more concrete props, such as chairs and tables and rooms, because the AI can conceptualize what it's trying to fill in, but with people, because we all are genetically different, there's not another one of Leoni in the world, so it struggles to fill in my missing gaps, essentially. So this was quite cool, I got it this accurate. Oh yeah, so when this is fully developed, it will help the studio because they won't have to take a lot of time to manually clean up all the blurry images or rescan the whole asset again, which is quite a key thing. Okay, so the final workflow I built for the studio was to streamline their approach to pre-visualization. This involved using the studio scan data to train character, prop, and environment LoRa models, which is a LoRa is a type of large language model, and putting them into a bespoke ComfUI pipeline that I built. Before training my character model, which is just me, I got scanned, it was quite cool. I used ComfUI to artificially generate my different facial expressions. This means that I could, create a more nuanced data set using my avatar's different emotional states. It was actually quite easy to use, and it was very creepy, to be honest with you. So after each digital asset has been trained as a LoRa model, you are able to load each individual LoRa into the workflow and generate previous images. You can change things like lighting, scale, and poses using the positive and negative prompts. And to take this further, it is possible to turn these images into video content. So hopefully this works. That's me going too fast. Yeah, so this is just an example where it's like that whole thing is AI, the prop, myself, the environment, the video.
Well, the scan's you.
Yeah. But even the background and the flower, they were all scanned assets as well by the studio.
So they own them already?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how does this help Visual Skies? Normally, it would take the studio 2 to 3 days to create their character iterations, but my workflow allows them to produce over 20 iterations in just a couple of hours. And how does this help the wider industry? So training your own large language models on your own data for ComfUI not only avoids copyright and protects data, but it combats systematic gender and racial biases. So currently, subscription-based platforms are being built in America on US-centric data, resulting in an Americanization or globalization of content and the projection of a single worldview. This workflow solves that issue, as you can train your LoRa's on anything and anyone. With this methodology, you can also train LoRa's on styles too. So this workflow offers an opportunity where AI can produce something original and authentic for the AI creator or filmmaker, and that's something that I proposed in my dissertation as the AI auteur.
Can I just ask, how long, once you have the assets in the AI, how long does it take to create that video
So
in terms of like programming it and stuff?
So when you're making the training the large language models, that's what's the most time intensive. Depending on the type of machine you use, if it's super powerful, like with 24 gigs of RAM or something, you could train a data set of about 20, 25 images in a couple of hours. And then when you put the LoRa's in the workflow to get the image, it's like a minute. And then to get the video, again, depends on the power of your machine, it could take anywhere probably between 10 and 30 minutes.
So the time is actually up front in terms of training it?
Yeah, but as soon as you've trained your large language model once and you're happy with it, then the actual ComfUI output takes minutes.
And by local, you mean this is software that's on your laptop, so you're not using a cloud-based service?
Yeah.
Right.
What was I up to? Okay, so because this data training model requires you to attach the image data to a specific trigger word, it means that when you use this type of model in the workflow alongside the trigger word in the text prompts box, the AI will only access the data directly attached to that trigger word, meaning that the results is entirely your own work. So this last few months of research has revealed a lot to me, but what I have taken away from all of this is that AI is not a one-size-fits-all solution. So when thinking about using AI, you need to ask yourself, why do we need AI in this instance? What purpose is it going to serve? Is it for streamlining pre-production? Is it for storytelling? Is it because you've got a lower budget project but you've got the laptops and the PCs to generate it instead? How can we implement AI most responsibly, and do the positives outweigh the negatives? In my opinion, the safest way to use AI in the creative industry is to build these tailored workflows on a studio-specific basis. So there's no point rolling out industry-wide AI programs and so-called solutions, as each studio has different priorities and functions. For example, the work I did for Visual Skies doesn't impact their jobs. It saves them time and money, but this could be detrimental to another studio or another creative. But as you know, to move away from these subscription-based platforms and these kind of one-size-fits-all solutions, we need industry-wide training. But surprise, surprise, we're the arts and we don't get any funds to support that until quite later on when things have already gone quite wrong. Finally, if it doesn't serve you and your work, just don't use it. AI is another tool in your creative kit, and it's up to you if and how you use it. And that is it.
Well done. Cool. Before we go to the Q&A, can I show them those clips that Brad sent this morning? Have you watched them?
Oh, I think I might have saw it in his Instagram. I've not been on WhatsApp this morning.
They're absolutely insane.
Is it the one where his screen is vertical with all the?
Yeah. So
Okay,
basically, we're working with a guy called Graduate who's in Alberta, and he's teaching digital filmmaking. So one of the things he's teaching is AI. And when he proposed when he came to the AI section, a third of the students walked out and complained to the dean about it. So they had to firefight. And basically we're on a hello. Yeah, we're on a kind of WhatsApp group with him because Leoni's doing an art project with my wife, creating an AI artist version of my wife's an artist, and she wants to have a conversation with an AI that's based on her art and her work. But Brad sent me this stuff. It's absolutely nuts.
I think I know what you're talking about because I think he posted it on his page. And I was
Yeah.
like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So first I'm going to show you, could somebody just turn the lights off, please? Right, okay, let's...
Oh yeah, this is like favourite thing he's made, isn't it?
Right, hang on. How'd you get the audio on?
Presenting issue. Patient Edgar's arrived in a state of Patient Edgar's. Condition, bipolar 1, manic episode with multidimensional spillover. Presenting issue. Patient Edgar's arrived in a state of radiant disorganization, fracturing into manic geometries, paranoid musicality, speaking in tongues in the form of ecstatic glossolalia, and a persistent conviction that gravity had become optional. Attempts at verbal containment proved futile. Patient chewed through 2 clipboards, accused the intake nurse of being a disguised algorithm, and began vibrating at 11.7 hertz. Treatment methodology. Following Jungian precedent, to cure a psychotic, offer him a kingdom to rule, the puppets activated the trans-dimensional semantic stenograph. This AI-augmented contraption siphons manic speech, maps its latent space curvature, and crystallizes the resulting semantic turbulence into navigable virtual chambers. The patient's first chamber manifested as a cathedral of Benedictine monks with molten halos and petrified tears. Edgar's held hands with the puppets, guiding them through the Sistine Chapel-like vaults of his spiritual psyche. Edgar drops into a cavernous black and white chamber where paranoid fantasies run on an eternal treadmill. Puppets coax him to greet one, gently, absurdly, before it scurries back into its looping gloom. The third chamber unfolded as a neon carnival of recursive mirrors, each reflecting a different mood state. Grandiosity, terror, hilarity, looping into infinity like a manic funhouse cosmogram. Outcome. Once Edgar's realized the puppets could experience his inner trip, see it as art rather than chaos, his agitation softened. He wasn't alone. Speech slowed. He felt seen. Paranoia dissolved. By externalizing his mania into redemptive, multidimensional aesthetic expression, the patient experienced a purifying, emotionally cleansing catharsis, followed by rapid stabilization. Disposition. Symptoms resolved. Mania successfully transmuted into architecture.
So, that's a little bit...
Bureau of Impulse Liberation.
I'll show you the other project that he's working on. So this guy, we're hoping to get him to come and talk to students.
What we have here is artwork that I'm developing right now. It's built on top of a large language model. So what we have here is a mind OS. And so sort of piece by piece, faculty by faculty, I'm building kind of a autonomous perceiving inner hallucinating mind. And so some of the things here is we've got our biography, we've got a character. It's got a biography, it's got a bit of a personality about it. And then what we have is we've got our auditory cortex up here that's listening and actually transcribing. We have a visual input, so this can take a webcam or a camera connected. Right now, it's watching YouTube, The Psychedelic Puppets, one of my favorite films that Jason Silva and I made. In the visual cortex, we've got some edge detection, some super perceptual understanding of what's going on. And then from the visual cortex, we actually have it rendering its own inner hallucination. the experience we have, the phenomenological experience we have of vision and sound, is a constructed reality for each of us, taking in sensory input, taking in our inner world into our central nervous system, and constructing sort of like a desktop user interface for us to move through the world. And so really what I wanted here was another kind of aesthetic and representation of how the mind works. And in here, all of this gets summarized into the subconscious, and that distills the sensory input with the bio input and then the generative thoughts that are happening. And then what we have here is our stream of consciousness. So this is sort of what's popping into the conscious existence. Now, I fully understand that this isn't a, actual mind, but it's an artwork that is abstracting and sort of turning the mind inside out so that we can come to a deeper understanding of it through, aesthetic rendering and poetic intent. Like they say, science explicates, poetry implicates. And they say, that if a journalist and a poet saw the same event, the journalist might describe it more accurately, but the poet will uncover a deeper truth. And I think that this is what the beginning of this artwork is about for me, is coming to a deeper truth about consciousness and our engagement with the world around us. Okay, what we have here is...
So yeah, back to your...
Hey, right, does anyone have questions for Leoni? I'm seeing a few little minds being blown there by that stuff.
No, Brad stuff's insane.
Yeah, Brad is
He's been like using AI, I think, since like 2022 when like Midjourney was released, and he's done like lots of different like art coding stuff as well before that.
Yeah.
So I feel like he's very advanced in it, and he's like, he's got all the methodology down.
He's really impressive.
Yeah.
I've got a question and no one else has. So is what you're saying that basically web-based video generation and image generation platforms are impossible to use ethically because they're always going to be using copyright that's not necessarily owned by the platforms?
And it's as well like if you use that subscription-based platform and create an output, that then just feeds into that whole platform again. So it's not you risking copyrighting other people's work, your work is being at risk of being like copyrighted as well. So it works both ways. I think, I remember seeing an email from OpenAI about 3 days ago. It was like 11 o'clock at night. And they were talking about like a data breach or leakage from one of their like third parties or something. So it's like, even though they've got a lot of infrastructure, there's still everyone's data is going right into the same place, so it just takes one breach and all of that data is at risk. So that could be all of your artwork or video work, or whatever you want to call it, as well as your personal data when you sign up. So your email, your phone number, all of that goes into these platforms when you sign up and you use it.
And are they if you put your profile in there, will they then be scraping your Instagram and will they match all those accounts and then go, we're building a profile on this person?
I mean, potentially. It's just, if you think of like, if you have Facebook, Instagram, and like TikTok, your algorithm is all aligned. So I presume that would be the same with subscription-based platforms. It would probably be able to access your information and tailor things or your outputs to your specific kind of vibe, I guess.
With your workflow, is all the data in there coming from you? Is it?
Yeah. So all of everything I put in was either taken by myself on my phone or was taken by the studio using LiDAR or photogrammetry scans. So that's all of their stuff.
You control every sort of source that it uses.
Yeah. Especially with the LoRa's, like when you use the trigger word, once you've trained that model, it won't access any other data apart from the stuff, the images that is attached to that trigger word.
When you're training a model, are you just endlessly sending it prompts? What constitutes training?
There's this locally run like interface called FluxGym, and you what you do is you put in your image data, so it could be about like 15 images or so, and then next to each image you write your trigger word, which you define in like another part of the interface, and you write a description of that image, and then you just kind of click train and
Doing that.
yeah.
So what about hallucinations? How do you deal with things that it throws up? Is that where negative prompts come in? Like,
So the train's not in Comfy UI, it's in like a different thing,
right,
but the hallucination part with the LoRa models won't happen because you've got the trigger words. So if you stack a prop environment and like avatar, like LoRa model in the workflow, then with all the trigger all the trigger words in the text prompts, it will only generate different variations of those in the output.
Can it, like, with the trigger words, can it like jump to conclusions with that? So would it, like, if you put church, would it, in cathedral, would they be different, or would it sort of knit those two words together? And
Your trigger word has to be something that doesn't really exist already. So like the spelling and the way you write it, it can't be a word you can find in the dictionary, because that means the AI can't conceptualize it as anything else apart from that direct data set. So I called myself Leoni AI, but the E was like was a 3, and it had like different letters and numbers in it as well. My name's just a bit weird in general, so that was helpful. So yeah, if you do it properly, it shouldn't hallucinate, and that's when you get like the more like clearer and accurate previous results as well.
So in the other issue with the sort of web-based platforms is, well, it's more complicated than just simple energy, right? Because everyone's using cloud-based platforms all the time.
Yeah.
If you've got a phone, if you're using Google, whatever. I mean, I'm slightly perplexed by the idea that you can avoid AI right now if you're using the internet in any shape or form.
Yeah.
But in terms of energy and water, that was obviously a big concern that rose up.
Yeah.
And my understanding is AI is more energy intense and is more cooling intense than standard cloud platforms.
Yeah.
But I mean, so can you use AI that is cloud based without having that impact?
All I know is that with Comfy UI, because it's local, when you're not using it, it doesn't consume any energy or water, so it's better. It's not a complete fix or solution, but the subscription platforms are like the main culprit, because they're on 24/7, whether someone's using them or not. The servers and the data centers, they don't switch off, but that's the same with like iCloud. If you use like Amazon, Uber Eats, like all of those are in these big cloud servers or data centers. But yes, AI does use more than the average cloud servers and data centers, but using locally run models and like software is significantly better. It doesn't have as much as an impact, but it doesn't fix the issue.
And would the workflow be able to sort of, not got my hand around, would it be able to create like sort of real world places? So if, for example, I know like you can't put a real world, but if you were to put in like trying to create Paris, how accurately would it try to create?
Yeah, it would. If you just do like a text to image workflow, then and you put a description in it, it would like hallucinate then, and it would try and find like what Paris looks like.
So what you're saying is you'd have to go and take images of Paris, not use copyrighted images of Paris from the internet, but take your own images of Paris, and that would be the data set it would train on. That's how you'd avoid copyright.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Right. I just wanted a bit more explanation about the image to depth map
thing.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So how does that work?
Let me get the slide back up. I'll try and explain it as best as possible. So the first image is the 3D model that has been rendered from a video I took of my jewellery stand.
So that you filmed a video.
Yeah, of my
and
jewellery
then
stand.
you turn that into a, like using.
It's in a post shop, it's called, and it generates Gaussian splats, so 3D models from image and video data.
Right.
And then in that interface, you can turn it into a depth map. So all the different grayscales represents the distance between, like, that spatial information between the camera and the object. And what that does, you saw on that video before with it was like all the outline stuff. What's it called?
The edging.
Yeah, the edging stuff. So that helps with the AI detect all the edges. So then it can turn it into. I've got my workflow there. You can see. I'm gonna stand up a sec.
Yeah.
So this is the depth map I've put in, and then this is like the edging stuff. So then it's kind of detecting what the actual image is, and then what I did. This is the style transfer image that I wanted to paste onto this. So when it reads this information and gets an outline, then it's able to kind of merge the two. And for this specific workflow, this thing's called like IP adapters and control nets. And with those, you change the weights in them to essentially get it to balance. So there's the style transfer image pastes over like accurately without becoming too overpowering or losing the outline. But because it was such an abstract image, it's obviously the AI struggles to conceptualize it, which is why it's kind of made a sci-fi thing. But if I did it on like a chair or a table, it would almost perfectly paste that style onto that object.
Right. So how much programming and coding is in that workflow?
So with ComfyUI, you can go on things like GitHub, and people have created custom nodes, and you can essentially load that into your computer. Sometimes it takes a little bit of coding. I can't code, I'm trying to teach myself at the minute, but there is a thing called vibe coding where you take the issue to like a chatbot and you code together to get the result you need, and then you then go back into your command and like code it in, and then you can load in the models. It's not always necessary, but with the more complex custom nodes that other people have built, you kind of have to do it. And then now, so I'm starting a new project tomorrow, but I've set up all my online remote access. So I was looking at ComfyUI, and I've not logged onto it for about 2 or 3 months just because I was finishing my degree and all that stuff. And the interface itself is a lot more accessible than what it was when I started using it back in like January, February time. So now when you go on it, it has inbuilt workflows that are quite popular taken from places like GitHub or the actual kind of owners of or developers of ComfyUI. So you have loads of templates you can just click on and then download the nodes in the interface without having to go to GitHub and
So
do it
what's a
yourself.
node? What do you mean, what's a node?
This is a node. So like, you know how you're on like DaVinci or like Premiere, you like color grade and you have the branches, like that's a node.
Right.
So that's why we just call it a node.
And each of those nodes does one specific thing.
Yeah.
So how does that compare to a web-based platform? Because you've got like multiple nodes there. Would a web-based platform be using nodes in the background, or?
I don't know actually, but you can't control any of if it did have nodes in the background, you can't control it at all. You put in an image or a video prompt, a text prompt, and you click like run, and it just does its thing. But with this, you are able to change all of the values in the nodes as well, and have just more control over your generation and outputs.
Interesting. Anyone else?
In terms of like AI being able to like build stories, because obviously it sort of goes based on experience. Do you think we're at a position where they can start building adequate stories? Because like the ones that are coming out now are quite crap.
I think the ones that are being released at the minute, they use subscription-based platforms. So I agree, they are a little bit crap. I think it depends how much AI and how much like humanness you use in the process. I think if we do start using like AIs for like film and television, more like a larger scale, I still think we need to blend it with like having actual actors and locations, and then even if it's the case of, I don't know, adding the movement with AI to have more of a combined approach to it. I think doing everything from scratch using like platforms, it's just not good, and that's where you see kind of a lot of the AI slop. But with this, again, you can train your own assets and you can be in control of that and protect it.
Less excuse for slot.
Yeah.
Because it's your generator.
Although I
so
feel
you've
like
only got
this is
yourself to blame.
kind of slot, to be honest, just because it was quite abstract, but we'll ignore that.
But you're not just necessarily. It's kind of. It sounds like it requires just more thought.
Yeah, it's very time consuming. I mean, if you go on something like Kling, you type in like a text prompt and maybe an image input, and in 5 minutes you've got a generation. Sometimes to load in a new custom workflow or build one yourself and get it to work and get rid of the errors and get the output you need, honestly, it can take you like days to get it right. So like my LoRa training model stuff, I was figuring that out for a while when I was on placement. I was kind of on and off it, and I think it was the last few days I managed to get it to work, and it was like, oh my goodness, finally. It hurts my head a lot, I'm not gonna lie. It really hurts my head, but
if they're going from like 3 days of person time down to like 3 hours, that's a massive saving for them as a company.
Yeah, because they don't have like storyboard or concept artists. Their 3D technical artists are more in like post-production, where they clean up the scan data and make them kind of ready for the like the films or the shows or whatever they're being asked to produce them for. And as well with this missing in the missing scan data, that again will save them loads of time. They hate doing that. They hate clearing up all the blurry images. They're like, can't the scan just be there? Like, that's meant to be the simple point, and then we're meant to like process it all for post. But the amount of times, like, again, if you're on location somewhere, you might have one chance to get a scan, and if it's a mess, it just takes ages to clean up. So
yeah, Joe told me, so we did a program together where they wanted to shoot a model, and they had contributors talking to the model and moving cars and people around on the thing, and then they wanted to do a drama, and it was like £25,000 for 2 days to do about 7 or 8 shots a day, and he scanned it all, and they got 171 shots out of the scan. And Joe told me that now, if they had that scan, they could do all of that processing of the data, which still took them quite a lot of time. They could do it all through AI just by putting the prompts of what the shots were.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, the amount of time that they've saved just in that was 2 years ago. So, anything else? All burnt out. Well, should we get on with the exercise?
it's quite intense for 9 AM, I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah. To be honest, my brain hurts whatever time it is. Right, let me just stop the recording and okay, cool. So, has everyone got the task? There was an email that went out on Friday with some links. So we want you to work in groups. Are you going to do any of this, Ash, or have you got to go
I've
off?
got to go off in a
So
minute.
should we make 2 groups, 1 of 3 and 1 of 2?
I am interested.
Maybe the three of you together and the 2 of you together. Yeah. So basically, the task is there's some. Has everyone got the email that went out on? Where is it? Yeah. So you should have basically some themes, which you could go and create a very brief storyline, and then using the image generation, we want like a storyboard of like 8 images that tell the story of that you've created from the theme. Does that make sense? So do you want to work in here? Yeah. We'll just maybe set you up in that corner. So if you 3 come here, Selena. Just pop you in that corner, and then the 2 of you can work together. Are you all right just working there?
I mean, I'm happy to work there.
Okay, cool. So do you need any